Right now on Upfront.
6 months out.
If we don't win this election, I don't think our country's going to survive.
Former President Donald Trump in Wisconsin, a critical Republican stronghold amidst his ongoing hush money trial in New York.
It was nice to be able to campaign one day without being in this ridiculous show trial.
Now the Republican National Committee urgently mobilizing. Our exclusive this Sunday, the new RNC chairman, Michael Whatley, one-on-one.
We are building out our election integrity program right now.
The Milwaukee Convention, claims of voter fraud, and the RNC attorney recently indicted.
Campus clashes. Protesters and police facing off at UW-Madison. Tensions escalating statewide and across the country.
We are committed to our fight here.
So what's next? Universities of Wisconsin President Jay Rothman is here in studio one-on-one.
Green Bay on the clock.
We have a lot of work ahead of us.
The NFL's smallest market now preparing for one of the biggest events. Hundreds of thousands of fans, tens of millions in economic impact. So how will Green Bay host the 2025 draft? The team just back from Detroit is with us moments away.
This is Upfront with Jaron Jordan and political director Matt Smith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. President Biden returns to Wisconsin Wednesday, his fourth visit to the state this year. The president will be in Racine. This comes as former President Donald Trump's hush money trial continues in New York. We'll get to it all with the new chair of the Republican National Committee, who's standing by.
The New York City judge hearing Trump's case takes Wednesdays off to hear other cases. So this past week, Trump campaigned in Wisconsin and Michigan, his second stop to Wisconsin in the past month.
I will secure our elections because you know what happened in 2012. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots, proof of citizenship, and voter ID.
In an interview with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Trump wouldn't commit to accepting the results of November's election if he lost. At Wednesday's rally, Michael Gableman, the former state Supreme Court justice, hired and then fired by Assembly Speaker Robin Vos to review the 2020 election, alongside MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, an election denier facing a multi-million-dollar judgment over some of his election claims.
We've got a lot to get to ahead of November and the convention in July. Michael Whatley is the new chairman of the Republican National Committee. He joins us now. Chairman, welcome to Upfront.
It's great to be with you guys.
So you've been to Milwaukee since being elected chairman. Can you bring us behind the scenes? What are your biggest challenges between now and the start of the convention in July?
You know, really, the logistical challenges on this are absolutely huge. When you think about bringing 50,000 delegates and guests and press to Milwaukee, just the sheer movement of people is a very big thing. We've got a team on the ground that's been up there for over a year. They've been doing an absolutely fantastic job. You know, we're working with security forces, working with the Secret Service, working with local police departments to make sure that everybody's going to be safe. And clearly, you know, while we're watching the campus riots across the country, including Wisconsin today, we want to make sure that security is going to be a front and center issue for us to take care of. But, we are going to be putting on a world-class television production. We're going to be putting on a world-class stage production at the same time. And we really want to be able to not just roll out our nominee, Donald J. Trump, and the Republican Party, but we want to roll Milwaukee out to the entire world.
Chairman, you've been on the job for just some 8 weeks. I'm sure you're counting just 6 months until Election Day. There's been plenty said and written about you, as I'm sure you're aware. Your critics call you an election denier. I'm curious, just to set the record straight, do you acknowledge that Joe Biden won 2020?
Look, yes, I think that Joe Biden is clearly the president of the United States, and we have rocketing inflation and illegal immigration to show for it. We need to be focused on winning 2024. When it comes to election protection, when it comes to protecting the vote, we feel very strongly that you need to have protections in place for mail-in voting. You need to have only U.S. citizens that are going to be voting. You need to have up-to-date, accurate voter rolls. These are things that 80% of the country agree with, and they're certainly not out of the mainstream.
As you know, the RNC's Bank Your Vote effort started and launched here in Wisconsin. State party officials are pushing this really hard. I'm curious, from your perspective personally, how much are you pushing Republicans to vote early and to embrace that ahead of November? And will that be part of the convention message in Milwaukee?
Yeah, look, over 50% of all voters are going to be voting before Election Day this cycle. We need to be talking to those voters before they go vote. And we have ancillary benefits. If people go vote, then we don't need to continue to phone call them. We don't need to knock on their doors. We don't need to send them any more mail. So there's a lot of things that come with benefits on it. But the key for us is if you want to vote by mail, great. If you want to vote early, great. If you want to vote on Election Day, great, right? Make a plan and stick to the plan and make sure you get that ballot in.
How much does Trump hinder that message? A few days ago, he called it 48 days of cheating. We have got to get back to paper ballots, he said.
Actually, the Truth post that he made just last week, which said early voting, absentee voting, and Election Day voting are all great. Make a plan and stick to it is exactly the right message.
You've said that the focus is on winning in 2024, but former President Trump continues to focus on 2020. Just weeks after the election, you did an interview with a local talk radio host in North Carolina. I want to play a bit of that interview for you now to take a listen to.
We do know that there was massive fraud that took place. We know that it took place in places like Milwaukee and Detroit and Philadelphia.
So do you still believe that there were these instances of massive fraud that took place in Milwaukee?
What we are doing right now is we're working very hard to make sure that we have the rules of the road the right way. We want to make sure that we have the right protections for mail-in balloting. We want to make sure that we have voter ID in place, that we have clean voter rolls. We are focused absolutely every day on making sure that the systems are in place for us to have a fair, accurate, and transparent election. This is absolutely the key for us. We are focused on winning in 2024.
So do you stand by your comments that you made in 2020?
What I would say is we are absolutely focused all day, every day on making sure that the election systems that we have in place in places like Milwaukee and all across the country are going to ensure that we have a fair, accurate, secure, and timely election cycle.
And to that, Chairman, you recently hired Christina Bobb to help oversee election integrity efforts for the RNC. Last week, she was indicted along Arizona's Republican electors, accused of attempting to overturn the results of the 2020 election in Arizona. Do you still stand by that hire?
Look, what I will say is we will let the legal defense team worry about the legal defenses. What I will say is that this is yet another instance where we have seen the weaponization of the justice system to go after President Trump and his allies. And we think that we need to be focused on winning this election cycle rather than trying to take President Trump off the ballot the way that the Democrats have done in city after city after city.
Here in Wisconsin, Wisconsin's Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, a Republican, has been critical of Bobb and of that hire. Just a few weeks ago, he told us on the show she is part of the fringe element, and I don't think that helps build credibility. Do you disagree with the Speaker?
We are trying to build a team right now that is focused on winning this election cycle. We have all voices. We want to make sure that we are connecting with all Republicans across the country. And look, the Wisconsin leadership there is an absolutely fundamental part of the team that we have, and we're not going to win Wisconsin without them.
The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel first reported this past week on efforts for the RNC to recruit volunteers and attorneys to monitor and potentially challenge the results of this election and what happens at the polls. Can you take us inside what that training and what that testing looks like?
Yeah, look, what we want to do is make sure that we are in the room anytime a vote is being cast and anytime a vote is being counted. So we definitely are recruiting folks right now to serve as poll observers. And we are recruiting both regular volunteers and attorneys to be able to serve in those roles for us. We are having training sessions that we're setting up all across Wisconsin and every other state across the country.
Chairman, I just wanted to ask, as you continue to plan for the convention in July and even working with the presumptive Republican nominee, Donald Trump, on this ahead of the election, are there times where you disagree with Trump?
Look, I'm not going to talk about the discussions that I've had with him, but what I will say is that Donald Trump is without doubt the leader of the Republican Party. And we are in a position right now at the RNC where we are working all day, every day to get out the vote and protect the ballot and make sure that we win, not just with President Trump, but with all of our other Republican candidates up and down the ballot.
Michael Whatley, the new chairman of the Republican National Committee. Michael, thank you so much for your time. We hope to see you soon here in Milwaukee.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Up next, chaos on college campuses. Protests nationwide, including in Wisconsin. Clashes at UW-Madison. Protesters vowing to stay. So what's next? Universities of Wisconsin System President Jay Rothman standing by in studio next.